You've been driving for 24 hours straight.
I find the drive quite exhilarating.
What's it like?
What's what like?
Being a synthetic.
Oh. Have you ever been happy? I mean, truly happy?
No.
That's what it's like.
Hello and welcome to Still Watching the Skies for April 2025. I'm Robert Reinecke.
I'm Nat Almarell.
I'm Cody Lang.
Every month we explore the lesser discussed science fiction movies of the past. Some famous, some obscure, some good, some bad, all of which we believe will create interesting conversations. That brings us to this month's film, 1990's Circuitry Man. Nat had picked this month's movie so he can give our listeners a kind of summary of it and key plot points and key cast and crew, and then we'll discuss the film. So take it away, Nat.
Thank you, Robert. So, as Robert said, Circuitry Man is a 1990 film where the synopsis is as follows. In a future where most humans have moved underground to escape the pollution, one of the few pleasures left is a kind of narcotic in the form of chips which can be plugged directly into the brain. Lori, a female bodyguard, steals a case of such chips and flees underground Los Angeles with Danner, a pleasure android, so that they can smuggle the chips to New York. In pursuit is Plughead, a dangerous criminal so named because of the many sockets and ports which decorate his scalp, so that he can test and use the chips that he is after. Despite probably English not being this person's first language, this is a pretty decent synopsis, and the tagline is, "The final frontier is not outer space, it is the human mind." And let me jump over to Wikipedia, get little credits here. Okay, Circuitry Man is directed by Stephen Lovey, written by Stephen Lovey and Robert Lovey, produced by Stephen Reich and John Schauweiler, starring Jim Metzler, Dana Wheeler Nicholson, Lou Leonard, Vernon Wells, Barbara Allen Woods, Dennis Christopher, cinematography by Jamie Thompson, edited by Gregory Neary and Jonas Thaler, music by Deborah Holland, production companies IRS Media, oddly enough.
Oddly enough.
And I should also note that this originally started is a student film by the director Stephen Lovey. It also has, I believe, a direct to VHS sequel called Plughead Rewired: Circuitry Man 2, which I have not seen, but I believe that is on Tubi.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. I believe it is on Tubi, though the original Circuitry Man is not, oddly enough.
Which is a bummer.
And
No,
I do want to.
The original is.
Yeah. Oh, it is now? Okay.
I watched it on Tubi.
Okay.
What? I rented it. God
I
damn
bought
it.
it.
I was gonna buy it, and then I was like, I'm not sure. And then after I rented it, I was like, I wish I bought this.
See? There you go.
Such an idiot.
Well, I was going to say the synopsis on IMDb didn't call this out, but appropriately enough, the year this takes place is 2020.
Mm.
And
in the past.
It's in the past. But of all the other synopsis I've read, because I forgot large portions of the movie, I watched it about 2 weeks ago, and there are parts I retain, there are parts I don't retain, and just to keep everything straight, I wanted to see a little bit of a synopsis. And none of them called out the best part of the, well, maybe not the best part of the movie, but a very significantly enjoyable part of the movie, which is the very opening, in which we're informed that in this state of 2020, the oceans have died. But
okay, so can we start talking about it?
No, I want to keep listing inane credits and talking about my personal experiences with it. Sorry. All right. Well, Cody, you seem eager to talk, so I'm going to toss it
I'll
to
start
you.
at the beginning because I thought something really struck me. So I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, there's these cool fade to blacks like the beginning of Alien 3 or whatever. And then they start going to the credits at the beginning and they're scrolling down and they're doing the more fade to blacks as the camera's panning down through the levels of like the infrastructure because everyone lives underground. And the way that the opening credits were rolling, they felt like end credits. Like they were all scrolling downwards. There was a lot of people being listed, and I just thought it was like I thought for a second I had like clicked my changer
Hmm.
and somehow like fast forward to the end of the film or something on like Prime where I rented it, and then I was like, no, this is just the beginning. It's just how they did the credits. So when you mentioned that it's a student film originally, that kind of more makes sense now. But I will say up front, just to if there's any about guessing about how I felt, I actually really liked the movie. Um, and yeah, I think it's really, really fun. But I do think there is some odd, quirky things about it, like
Hmm.
especially with how it's filmed. Um, the credits being one of them, not something where I would like say I was like mad at it or like didn't like it or something, but I just felt it was an odd choice to do it that way. Um, but yeah, overall I really, really liked it. Like, how did you find this one out, or like how did you think to pick this one?
That's a good question. And this is I usually don't pick good movies on this, so I want to repeat that process. I forget just whenever I'm putzing around on the internet and I see like science fiction recommendations
Yeah.
that aren't just like Alien, Star Wars. Uh,
2001.
yeah, exactly. I'll just write it down and then kind of look it up, read a little bit about it, and if it looks interesting or something that people have good things to say about, but I've never heard of before,
Hmm.
and they're fairly compelling, then I'll write it down. And like I said, I
Yeah.
had a couple that I wanted to choose for this, but the other one was I think over 3 hours long and in a foreign language, and I don't think we got time for that right now. So I chose this one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good pick.
There you go.
So this is one I would have like potentially would have seen in blockbusters like as a young kid, but just didn't really remember it.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Your thing would have a
really good
memorable
cover,
cover
really
on it.
good poster. It's kind of like the poster for Mr. Stitch, where like the guy on the cover is not the main character.
That's
Well,
true.
Yeah,
are you talking about the one where it's like it
where
actually
it's
looks more like a comedy
well,
where
no, like the one where it's just Vernon Wells, like where it's just his head, like
With
well,
his plugs.
yeah, with the
is that
plugs.
okay? Because there's also the poster for Circuitry Man 2, Plughead Rewired.
Okay,
And
I haven't seen that poster.
I believe it's the same thing where it's like a desert landscape and
Hmm.
it's just his head and he's smiling at you.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. This to me, this film is a comedy.
Yeah.
Like this is I could safely say, or not safely, but like I could say without like trying to make a weird point, like that this is a comedy as well as a science fiction. Like it is, I think it's trying to be funny.
Mhm.
And I do find it pretty funny.
I I think there's a lot of it that is intended to
Yeah.
be funny.
It's not totally serious, but there's a lot of
It's not serious at all.
yeah, but there's a
It's
lot of films in the 1980s which are you can take it seriously, but the filmmakers aren't necessarily taking it seriously.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like Evil Dead 2 tongue in cheek, but it's certainly again it's we're gonna have fun here. We're here to have fun. We're not
Yeah.
here to make a statement.
Yeah. Well, just to bring the whole poster thing home, like the poster that they do have for this on IMDb, it's it does absolutely make it look way more like a comedy because it's a desert, like a purple desert ground.
yeah,
You have Vernon Wells as Plughead looking like in the foreground, half of his face is in black, and then there's a wire coming out of his head, and it's encircling Dana Wheeler Nicholson, who's looking apparently like either at the back of his head or something like slightly to his right
yeah.
and smiling. So it looks kind of like a romantic comedy, and the image of the wire is really, really bad.
Yeah, I just find it I found a lot of the film to be really funny. And not in like the way where it's like I'm laughing at it. Like I think it's actually trying to be funny. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of a good change. Like because I just think it is fun when movies just kind of lean into it and they don't lean into it in ways you'd think. Like they're not making fun of Vernon Wells's character. There's just odd side characters throughout.
Yeah.
There's odd
Yeah.
moments.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, the whole like the detectives who are chasing them.
Yeah.
yeah, those guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which features one of the Bobs.
Yeah. Those guys are hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I did feel the student film thing starting. I mean, I would say that the beginning portion reminded me quite a bit of THX 1138.
Hmm.
Uh, the underground society and overhead trains and that. Although I feel that the RoboCop is an influence on this as well, and definitely the Mad Max films.
yeah, totally.
Hmm.
Like, because that's what we should say. It's kind of like cyberpunk, but really it's for how much time they spend out in the upper or like the world, I guess you could say, like, above underground. Like, I'm not even sure how to describe it properly, but just like the world, it does feel like it is just not a ripoff, but it is really influenced by it, and
Hmm.
it's more of that than it is of like cyberpunk stuff. Like
Yeah,
they
I
go
mean,
back to it at the end, which I thought was cool what they did.
Hmm.
yeah, I'm reminded of another film that we'll get to one day, which will be like Cherry 2000. I don't know if you're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's a good, yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah,
Well, and I think, yeah, I mean, another influence I would say too is when he, at the very end, which I think is actually a really well done sequence when he goes into the mind of
that's
Plughead.
cool. Yeah,
I think Nightmare on Elm Street
Yep,
is a pretty
and
significant
Hellraiser. Yeah,
idea or influence on that. But I think it's also it kind
I
of
also bring up
predicts.
The
Go ahead.
Hitcher
Yeah,
for a scene.
yeah.
So
I was going to say too. I also think it predicts some things that become some sci-fi staples that we've covered on here. So the whole idea of like using the chips in alternate worlds has little strange days.
oh
Um,
yeah, you really think like Strange Days, like it's kind of like anticipates a lot of it. Yeah, for
mhm.
sure.
And oh shit, there was another one too.
Johnny
Oh well,
Mnemonic.
actually, we were just talking about that, like the idea of sex bots, which probably isn't new at this film, but this does predate AI,
Yeah,
and
predates Gigolo Joe.
yep. And I also really like the idea of like Danner's character trying to pursue a girlfriend that he knows doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But Robert, do you want to jump in?
I
You
mean,
have
I feel like this is kind of an artifact from a type of movie that doesn't exist anymore. The low budget science fiction action movie of the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, it would eventually migrate to a direct to video, and that kind of no longer exists either. But yeah, so that's what it reminds me of the that period. And
mhm,
uh, I kind of feel that the movies we get these days, back in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of them would have ended up in this type of film. It's just without the humongous budget. I kind of feel like Terminator 2 is kind of like one of the films that pushed it that way, because we went from the low budget Terminator to the enormous budgeted Terminator 2.
mhm,
And I kind of feel that was the transition that Hollywood made. And so there's really no reason to do that when, Hollywood's doing these same type of stories, only bigger,
mhm,
with cutting edge special effects. And I kind of miss them. I mean, I won't say that this is like an award-winning film or anything. Certainly the writing is very point A to point B to point C. Some clever ideas here and there, and the direction is fine, and there's uh certainly the budget shows, but they're being clever with it, and they know what they can show and what they can't show, and they make good choices in that respect. And I kind of miss when you go, well, we can't show it, but we can apply it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I kind of miss that kind of cleverness to filmmaking when everything these days is so literal and has to be shown in very realistic detail. And sometimes it's a a drawback when the special effects just can't live up to it. And this one seems to know we can do this and we can do that and we can do that. So we'll do all of this, and what we can't do, we'll just put it in the your mind's eye and let you film it yourself, essentially. And I think that's well, and I will say I really like Vernon Wells. Um,
Big
Wheeler
time.
Nicholson is okay. I'm not sure who plays Danner. I thought he was okay too.
Stephen Metzler or
Stephen
Jim
Metz,
Metzler, sorry.
Jim Metzler. Okay, I mean I thought he was fine, and I thought Dana Wheeler Nicholson was fine, but these are not going on to bigger and better things. This is about their level,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with them there. But it's like if you had a star other than Vernon Wells, I think that would have kind of balanced it out a little bit more because I think Vernon Wells kind of walks off with every scene he's in.
Yeah, but he can't help it. He's just
Yes,
he's a good bad guy, like
yeah,
um, which is an understatement, but yeah.
Well, I think also kind of along those lines, and I would like to ask a little bit about like what has that direct to VHS market kind of expanded or evolved into at this time? I was going to say maybe like, some stuff that they may just drop on like Netflix and stretch out over like 8 episodes of a miniseries. But kind of along those lines, I feel this is also aided by over-the-top side characters.
hmm
So like Dennis Christopher, I think is Leach, so the guy who accompanies them, who's like the dingy sewer junkie.
Yeah, he's
yep,
good.
Yeah. Lou Leonard as Juice.
yep,
So and then like we said, the two detectives. I like that, and I feel like that is a staple, especially of these kinds of films from the 1990s, where you have people who basically are just trying to like make a big splash with like their scene, and it's kind of like, okay, I need to put together my sizzle reel, for
Hmm.
auditions, and so I'm just gonna go all out, and this is a perfect opportunity to do that. And it's something that's nice too, because if you don't have the budget for heavy special effects, and I think actually what they do have, again, I really like that last battle. I think that looks really, really good. But yeah, you can balance it up by just having actors be over the top, and I feel like we don't get that much today.
no,
It tends to be a lot more brooding, or if we do get that, it's nowhere near as lighthearted as it is like kind of in these types of films from the 90s.
yeah,
Yeah, like because what this one did well is like all those little scenes are like very memorable. So like that one character who I'm not sure if this is who you're talking about when you say Juice, but I don't think it's this character. The one that has like a big like kind of like car motor just built into him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not the character, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that guy
no,
a lot
yeah.
too.
So he's just kind of like floating around in this thing, and it's just a good like world building moment. Like you because
hmm
like you don't spend too much time in the underground area, like you can kind of imagine or put it like, piece it together like, oh, what's the future like when we're
Hmm.
all forced to live underground? Like, it's like how people live in modern day mines right now, like where there's like where it's just an office building basically but built underground.
Hmm.
Um and so that was a really cool character, I thought. And then the other character I liked was, I think this is who you're talking about, Juice, like the fat lady.
Yep.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think she's really funny,
Hmm.
um, and has a really funny look. And um, I will say though, like the writing is a bit odd, like with the main character, like the main character lady, like her story doesn't make a lot of sense, especially where it begins. Like she's like getting tied up while she's having sex, and then she wants to be a fashion designer
Yeah.
in this
It was the
world.
90s.
And she's
Yeah.
like a bodyguard.
Yeah, but she's like a kick-ass bodyguard. That's her normal job, but she wants to leave it all to be a fashion designer. Like in the future, I don't mean to like, be Mr. Know-it-all, but like there is not going to be resources for high fashion. Um,
Not in this future.
yeah,
Well, she
there's going to
doesn't
be
appear
no
to have
just
had much success in pursuing that dream, so maybe it is more realistic than.
Well, that is
yeah.
fair.
But like it was just a weird plot point to be like just have the film start off like I'm going to be a fashion designer, and then there's all these overtones of like noir films, and it was just weird enough that I was okay with it, but it is an odd sort of writing choice.
Yeah. Well, even as a fashion designer, I feel like the little black dress is something that you could have had more fun with.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just seemed like totally like
Very basic.
just a non like a non like a non-issue, or it was just like a non or like yeah, it was so inconsequential. Um, I do like the main like the other main character, Danner.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
but I just think it's yeah, it's also really silly. Like the ending when he's getting ripped apart in Vernon Wells's mind. Like I don't really know what's going on in that
I
scene.
don't either, but I
Yeah.
really like the look of it.
Yeah.
I like the look of it. I will agree. It's like, oh, rules are all off. It's in their head. We can do whatever we want.
I think you're also supposed to get caught up in him revealing who actually is the circuitry man of the movie,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I've forgotten who that is. If it's Danner or
Well, I
Plughead,
think it's
I think
it's
it's
both.
Danner.
Plughead. Okay.
Well,
See
no,
there.
no, it's both, right?
Yeah, it's both. And
Okay.
Danner kind of reclaims his humanity, and Plughead does not.
Okay.
I
So
just
that's
don't get how Plughead has like this inner mental world if he's a robot,
He's Plughead. He
right?
can he can do what he
Okay.
wants.
Like, yeah, it could be all virtualized, if he's an AI, which I assuming is what these guys are.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I guess they call Danner what, a biosynthetic, which
Yeah.
is uh, well, let's just say replicant.
Sure.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
basically a replicant. Yeah.
yeah, replicant android. So I don't think he actually really has, this circuitry and machinery inside him. But I mean, he does bleed.
Right. Yeah.
But for the sake of the movie, I feel that he's called this circuitry man as an insult, and he kind of rises above it, I guess is the idea.
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
mean, it's about as deep as it gets thematically.
Well, and it's a weird thing that probably is a budgetary related issue too, but I feel like they don't make that much of a distinction between humans and the replicants. Like there
No,
isn't
they
as thin of
don't.
a
Yeah.
line as there tends to be in a general
Yeah.
science fiction movie that brings these up, where they seem to have like way more human emotions than you would expect, or way more human
Hmm.
characteristics, and apparently have like a capacity to overcome the robotic side, or at least like there's not it's not looked upon or frowned upon of like somebody being attracted to a robot as it would be in pretty much any other movie, I would say, including AI, which has a very similar premise with Gigolo Joe.
Hmm.
Now, I don't think that's depth on the part of this movie because they
No.
don't get into it much and they don't explore it much. But again, I kind of like that as a part of this world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Tin Man has a heart. It goes back a long ways, and I would say Wizard of Oz is in the DNA of this somewhere, of this film somehow. They start in this kind of drab world, and they end up in the colorful outdoors, and then I guess they end up back in the drab world, except for the virtual fight at the end.
Mhm. Well,
So,
they also go to a bar and have a pretty awesome fight in the airlock.
Yeah, that bar scene funny, and the guy driving with them after is really funny
I was
too.
gonna say that's another over the top side character.
Yeah,
hmm.
I don't know why he's doing that, but it's funny.
Mhm.
Well, the waitress hitting on the gigolo android is also kind of funny too.
Yep. And
Uh,
I like the idea of like him ma basically making a bet that more or less he can live in this air chamber for a sustained period of time because he is an android and they don't realize that. Clever,
mhm.
clever bit there. But
This is definitely a movie of there's no small parts, only small actors.
exactly. I was gonna say too, I do like a lot of the locations here. I I I may be wrong in this, but like when they are basically in the dark parking garage or
Hmm.
dark underground parking garage, I thought that they kind of referred to that as more or less kind of the underground highway, or at least like something that
Yeah,
it's the idea is that it's way longer than your average underground dimly lit parking garage.
yeah. It supposedly extends from LA to Denver.
Yeah, I love that idea. Like
Mhm.
just the idea of driving through like this long ass parking garage and that more or less being a freeway and basically the scenery or taking a road trip and the scenery being identical. Um, and people somehow getting ahead of them or them getting like impeded along the way. I know it's completely for budgetary reasons. I know it looks not like nothing more than a dark underground parking garage, but I just love that idea.
Yeah, I noted that when those opening pan down into the underground civilization, they're definitely repeating shots.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But it's
But
also it's super simple and maybe it's just like
mhm.
because we're products of the time in which we grew up. But it's so easy to just slide back into suspending disbelief for something like that. And I hope
Yeah,
today's kids will be able to do the same.
I think I'd rather watch this than green with a bunch of virtual CGI.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think just something where it's like, let's use our imagination. We can just refer to this as a particular thing, and then have you put the context instead of us having to fill in all of those blanks. Um,
Hmm.
I do
Well,
really
it
like that.
it helps that it has a real life lived in look to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's not like there are a ton of different locations in this. Like you basically go from an underground city, which is just like,
A parking
dimly
garage.
a parking garage, but also just dimly lit buildings
Yep.
to more or less like the desert.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
and then you go into, well, the bar and Plughead's Mind. And yet,
Well, it is like a road movie though.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
You're
very
yeah.
much
kind
a
of
road
just
movie.
yeah, you're just traveling and stop in different spots. It's not too varied, but I thought it was varied enough.
Yeah. I mean
Yeah.
it's a long chase movie, but that's kind of a standard. And on the road people have to talk to each other just to pass the time. And I feel that's always kind of a good way to move the story along or the relationship arcs along.
Hmm. Yeah. I also like the music in it. It was pretty
Yeah.
fun.
I did like the kind of bluegrass country feel to it, which I feel is kind of odd for a science fiction movie, but I welcomed it, but it's certainly in place in a road movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it fits because it's a road movie. If it wasn't that, it would
Mm.
be a little odd. It would be very odd actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that all the time in the city. It would be odd, but out on the road and with the dusty road,
Mhm.
I feel it fit right in.
I also thought that the explanation of like how they breathe in the upper part of the world it makes sense. Like it doesn't totally make sense. Like you have these little nose inserts and then that's how you can breathe, but it kind of works like it works enough. Like it's better than having them wear like, breathing masks the whole movie.
Yeah, although I
Um
think you could have just said it's difficult to breathe, not need to lug oxygen around every day.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe,
because then in this world it's not gas or gasoline like it is
no.
in Mad Max, but it's oxygen tanks. That's what the currency is because no one can breathe because the pollution's so bad.
Yeah, well, I think you just could say it's polluted. It's difficult to breathe. So you could wear like a mask of some sort,
Yeah.
or even a bandana or something, or have some
Hmm.
filter on the car so that they could, go along and talk. But then they would have no real excuse to uh, stop into the cafe, I guess.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and it did kind of preempt or anticipate the cyberpunk films a
Yeah.
bit. Like it's 1990, which is pretty early.
Hmm.
Like Johnny Mnemonic was like 95 or 96. Not that that's like a landmark film, but like
No.
that's
Yeah.
one of the earlier cyberpunk movies,
It
even
kind
though it
of it's
sucks.
ahead of Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, it's ahead of Lawnmower Man. Yeah, that's true.
In fact, it might even have better special effects than Lawnmower Man.
I would agree.
Oh, it looks better for sure. Yeah. I think Lawnmower Man was made for more money, but
Yeah.
this
I think
movie
they
is
tried too much because I remember,
is better. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and again, they know what they can do well and they stick to it.
Hmm.
They're not trying to uh, break new ground. They're just trying to do it well. And this film is there's a lot of parts that I've saw in the movies made before this.
Mhm.
This is not brand new. I mean, Plughead's a good idea, but I mean they don't do a whole lot with Plughead.
No, and I actually do want to watch the sequel to this. Um, like apparently Jim Metzler returns. I think Dennis Christopher returns. Basically, everybody probably returns except Dana Wheeler Nicholson. And of
Well, she
course,
probably had better offers.
I maybe I
Well,
don't.
debatable.
Um, but I'd like to see more of like what Plughead old Pluggy gets up to. But it's also something where I'm surprised I haven't seen that idea of just somebody with a bunch of plugs in his head recycled. I think once he actually plugs things in and has the wires sticking out of his head, I'm sure, there have been things like that before.
Hmm.
I'm thinking like Mojo from X-Men, but I'm sure there's a lot more cinematic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at some point he kind of resembles Davros from Doctor Who.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's a pretty striking image, and I'd say once you kind of go whole plughead, Vernon Wells probably is having the
The
time of
time of
his
his
life.
life.
Yep, exactly. But I'm curious. I mean, had any of you even heard of this before?
No, I
No,
have not.
Okay, okay.
never.
Huh. Or even like seen the cover because this.
No, never. I've never
No,
even seen anything, heard of this. No, never.
Okay.
no. I mean, I obviously had heard of Vernon Wells.
Mhm.
I it seems like Dana Wheeler Nicholas is a familiar name, though I can't say that I remember her from stuff. But I know
I
I've saw
wouldn't say she's a
Flash.
familiar name. I've seen her in like a lot of TV shows.
Mhm.
Like she was in
Yeah.
Seinfeld, I think, and I think she was in X-Files and
Yep.
yeah.
But I've seen Lou Leonard and stuff. I remember her.
Mhm. She's also, yeah, been around for a long while or
Yeah.
was.
But other than that, I mean, I had no idea who Jim Metzler is.
I didn't either, and I kept thinking he reminded me a lot of Judge Reinhold.
Mm.
And it may just be like kind of tall, lanky, a little bit longer face and then long hair, but he was giving off that vibe. But it also sounds like the kind of name that you've heard before, but can't trace from where you've heard it. But
That's fair.
apparently he was in some Murder She Wrote, Deep Space Nine,
Mm.
Jag, Sliders,
Okay.
Princess Daisy. So, those sorts of things that you like watching,
Space
Robert.
Nine, all right.
Yeah. I do. Well, I will say I was a little disappointed in how they did New York, which looked exactly the same as L.A. I was hoping they could come up with something a little bit clever, but or distinguishing, but no.
Hmm.
I'm not surprised they did what they did. They just kind of got there and then met in some dark rooms and then had the
Yeah.
cool showdown.
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking too, so kind of getting a little bit into it, like what do we have, I guess, where do we find movies like this today?
Well, we don't
We
really.
don't really.
Yeah,
I
that's the
mean,
problem.
what did these evolve into? If
Tubi. They evolved
Like
into
like
Tubi.
I will say though, like there is a lot of movies that just I don't even watch that are like this on Tubi, but they're not as good. Like they're not as good as this. They're not gonna have as good of
Yeah.
actors.
Yeah.
Um,
But as far as new movies, I don't know. I wouldn't even say Netflix because I think Netflix will throw a lot more money at it than this
Mhm.
because, people tune in just because it's on Netflix.
Well,
no,
and it's
yeah, no,
also
I don't think that this kind of movie is still made like in terms of this quality. Like there are like you can go on Tubi and find like a new science fiction film from like this year, but it's not going to be as fun and charming.
Yeah. I
Um,
I will say that I think all the studios said we can make this type of movie, but we got to spend a lot of money on it, or people will just turn up their nose and not go.
well, yeah, I guess you have different models too. So it's, with a lot of the stuff that's on Netflix or other streaming channels,
Hmm.
you can track engagement or views of it, but ultimately it's kind of like a bucket of content or part of like a bucket of content
Yeah.
from that subscription as opposed to rentals from these types of things.
Yeah.
Although this did get a theatrical release, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
oh,
I kind of
the
feel like the low budget art house film is a whole different thing than this. I mean, this is not an art house film. I think low budget films kind of disappeared unless they're the art house film
yeah,
or play the films.
like the low budget art house film is not really the same as this. Like this is just
Yeah.
like the fun, entertaining, low budget genre film.
mhm.
Which there are still these out there. It's
Yeah.
just
But
I don't like I haven't seen them all. I can't really say if they're good or bad. I would assume they're bad
I
just
mean,
based off of the
the
titles.
low budget midnight movie festival film still exists.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I went to Fantasia last year. I'm going to go this year. Like a lot of the movies there are kind of similar to this, but
Mhm.
don't know if they're as good. The other girl who plays the other bodyguard in the film was also in Seinfeld. I've just looked at that now.
Is that
And Deep Space Nine.
is that Barbara Allen Woods?
Yeah, and Ally McBeal, which I think I just saw the episode of Ally McBeal that she was in.
Ah, and Married with Children, which Lou Leonard was also in.
Oh,
Okay.
small world.
Yeah, layers upon the layers.
But I feel like um,
Oh,
back in
Dance
the
with
day we
Death.
had
I've seen
television
that.
actors and movie actors, and this
Yeah.
was a good opportunity for, television actors to get some work in uh, between seasons or between guest appearances. And we don't really have that these days because you don't have like a Netflix movie that'll have big stars in it.
Mhm.
And
Well,
it kind of
maybe,
feels like, everybody casted the 30 or 40 of the biggest named actors in every film. You don't really have these kind of little bit character parts these days. Or you still have character parts, but you don't really have character actors these days.
yeah,
I
I
guess, yeah.
maybe like something like Hundreds of Beavers is more
Yeah.
in this sort of vein. Um, or at least for like sci-fi, maybe Primer, but that's also like 20 years ago. So that's
That's
closer
how
to
old Primer
1990.
is?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I know we're getting old, but
I mean, I guess Turbo Kid would be kind of like this thing, but that's
That's
all
a good
movie
one.
romance.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think the technique of just basically saving all the writing for the villain um has has gone out of style.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's the part. That's the juicy part you want.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I
I
just
think that Vernon Wells is really fun to watch. I think he's a bit underrated, to be honest. I've seen him in other stuff too, like there's a Ringo Lam film he's in where he's the bad guy. He's super good in it.
Hmm.
He's super maniacal in it.
I kind of feel like some of the South Korean films kind of have the same spirit, and some of the Japanese films that we watch. Although I feel that a lot of these things just find their way into anime these days, and I could see this pretty much the same film, but you would do it in anime, and you could go some real wild with the designs of that, and be having fun with it.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta rewatch Road Warrior and Commando
Oh,
for some more
Commando. Yeah,
Vernon
Commando,
Wells.
he's so funny in Commando.
Yeah.
His like outfit, um, and he's a pretty smart actor. Like he said in some like recent interview or some like Comic-Con thing or something where he was being asked about Commando, and he basically said, "Yeah, my character is in love with Arnold's character. Like he loves him and he also wants to kill him."
And he
Um,
has to let off some steam.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. But like he I'm not sure if Arnold was aware of this, but like Vernon Wells was so aware of the homoerotic nature of that film. Like
I would have hoped so from the costumes he was wearing.
yeah, I don't think the director was, but I'm pretty sure Vernon Wells was. Like
Maybe Vernon Wells had a say in the costume design because I feel like
oh yeah.
Well, if you
he's
go
like,
to
oh,
Vernon
let's Freddie
Wells,
Mercury as the
Well,
villain.
and a say in not working out at all and looking super unfit.
if you go to Vernon Wells' Wikipedia page, he is just like it looks like he's at a convention signing pictures.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
He has a pretty amazing shirt on that is, I guess, like the Japanese equivalent of like the wolves howling at the moon. Like it's blue, has Japanese lettering on it, and then there's like a tiger.
I feel like Vernon Wells knows exactly what he was doing at the time, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
I
you
mean, he
gotta
was
Yeah,
in
have
how
the
some.
much more
Power Rangers
memorable,
series.
like how much more memorable is like this role than like a bazillion other, I don't know, Dustin Hoffman or Andy Garcia films from this time, or like, like not to
Andy
like pick
Garcia getting some
not
strays.
not to pick on those guys, but I just mean yeah, like I will go back and watch a film from the 90s and like if I see Vernon Wells in it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a point in its favor.
Yeah. I'm so
Same
excited
with like
for.
Rutger Hauer. Yeah.
And yeah, this did remind me of I forget which Rutger Hauer movie. Was it Rutger Hauer, the one that had the guy shooting the blast of water from his nose? Was that Nemesis?
Nemesis, that's not Rutger Hauer.
That's not Rutger
Okay.
Hauer, but it's
But this
Nemesis.
reminded me this reminded me of Nemesis.
I think it was Tim Thomerson.
Okay, well, a lot of people get those two confused. And
Uh, yeah. Wait, yeah. When you texted that screenshot of the water nose, that was so
that
funny.
was one of the most edifying moments of my life. Like I had to rewind that scene multiple times, and not just to get the picture to prove to you guys that he basically like a jet of like a gallon of water jets out of this guy's nose. But even before that, I was just so impressed. I had to rewind it and watch it. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a epic scene like that in this movie.
No, the closest thing is the guy in the car, like kind of dancing as he's driving by himself.
Yes,
Like
I
the guy from the bar. That was,
yes,
I don't know what he was doing, but I thought it was really funny.
yes. It was creepy at first and then oddly charming.
Oh,
But
and I like the part when the other guy goes up to Vernon Wells and he's like smacks him in the face, he's like, "Where's oxygen?"
yeah,
He just slaps him across the face. That was good.
I love little moments like that.
Yeah, I do hope people watch this movie that are listening. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know why you wouldn't, but like it is a little hard to find. I don't like having to rent a movie. I would like to get it on Tubi or something, but I'm kind of mad because I should have bought this instead of renting it.
Well, you can buy it on Prime, and I don't recall it being especially expensive.
No, but
Like,
I rented it on Prime. I'm not going to buy it on Prime though.
well, and you're not a true plughead.
Well, I
We
know.
And
really
that's
need.
the great thing is you don't even have to come up with a new term for the fans of
Yeah,
I,
plughead. You can
plug
just say
I
they're plugheads.
yeah, I wonder if there's like a bundle on like Voodoo or something. Circuitry Man and Circuitry Man 2.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy Circuitry Man 2. I just when I like a film, and the price difference is $10, I'm just like, oh, I should have bought it. Like,
I can't imagine this cost more than like $5.99.
no, the rental was $5.99. The purchase was 15.
Oh, okay.
I should have bought it.
Worth it.
Anyway, that's just
You're
my
gonna go back and
stupidity.
buy it.
I'm not. I'm not paying $20 for this film.
You should put
But 15 is but
a ten
15 if
dollar
I'm
That
gonna
money goes
if
into
I'm
Vernon
gonna
Wells' pocket.
I don't think it does. I think it goes right into Jeff Bezos' pocket.
And he'll give some to Vernon Wells because he's impressed by him in this film.
Well, I should hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure they have to give some royalties to Vernon Wells for this. And maybe that money that he gets from Commando, maybe that money he gets from Mad Max, maybe that money he gets from multiple TV appearances
You
just
did
isn't
Weird
doing it
Science.
for him. Maybe your purchase of
Yeah,
Circuitry
Weird
Man
Science.
and Circuitry Man 2, Weird Science 2, and Circuitry Man 2 just lets him sleep a little bit easier at night.
Hey, I own a lot of his movies on Blu-ray.
Well, you can own another one.
I bet he makes the convention circuit rounds.
I have both Commando and Undeclared War, which is a Ringo Lam crime film that he's the bad guy in it. I have those are two expensive Blu-rays.
Inner Space too is another one, but
Yeah, he's in Inner Space. Yeah.
uh, okay. So he's
He
probably
has a
probably
good
safe.
that guy career.
He does. He does. Also, he has a great name, but
Yeah.
and I also feel that like at this point, our listener is probably thinking like, okay, well, how come they aren't talking about movies? Why are they just like dwelling on Vernon Wells? There's really not much to talk about plot-wise in this movie. You get the general gist of it pretty
Well, it's
early
more of a
on.
movie of like different scenes. Like the plot
Yeah.
is they're going to New York to sell these chips to get money or to get oxygen.
Yes.
I think it's money that they're gonna get. It's gonna
Yeah,
set
I
them
think
up
it's
for
money
life.
because I think they're under they're like what are they called? Like they're people who live underground, like
Yeah.
The rats.
just people, I guess, in this world. They choose not to live up top above the world where you have to scavenge for oxygen tanks
Oxygen.
to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess gas too, but that's not really seen as that important. Although it should be important because how would you get around?
Well, I think they imply. I think they wave it away by saying that like there's like water converters that converts it into energy.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
That's weird they can't use that to make oxygen tanks, but
Well, the oceans died.
You know,
So
oxygen is part of H2O. A little electricity will turn that into hydrogen and oxygen.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You could take the water and turn it into some oxygen and then breathe it.
but they don't have water. The oceans died.
Right. So what do they use to make the energy then?
Yeah, where'd the water go? It's so now you have to pull it out of the air and then uh
No, I'm asking you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, I don't know where the oxygen went.
Oh, okay.
That's why I kind of go like, well, pollution doesn't necessarily gonna eliminate oxygen. It's just gonna make it like poisonous to breathe. So you're gonna have to filter it somehow.
Yeah, well, obviously the film is not as detailed as Mad Max in the world building. Um, but it's still fun, and I still like the clash of humor and film noir in the
Hmm.
beginning parts, and then the the bizarre cyberpunk ways of of doing stuff. Um, yeah, it's fun. I wasn't really prepared for like the road trip part, but I did really like it. So I thought it was gonna be more like just kind of people in rooms talking for most of the film. So that was a good surprise.
Yeah, it was nice to get out of people in rooms part. And I feel once the road trip starts, it actually get good. I feel up to that. I think that's where Sarah struggled the most watching the film, and I don't
Mhm.
blame her necessarily because it's not a great drama. I'll say that at the beginning. But once they get in the cars and hit the road, I
Yeah.
think it improves quite a bit.
A couple other things. The main character's hairstyle is brutal.
Which one,
Uh,
Dana Wheeler Nicholson or Jim Metzler?
hers is, I don't mind hers. Jim Wexler's,
Metzler.
Danner.
Yeah.
Danner. It's like a really aggressive 80s mullet thing.
With kind of a ponytail in the back.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's not
which
good.
which has now swung around so somehow to be a style, but um yeah, it was hard to watch that because he is it just doesn't give off the vibes that I think the character's supposed to give off. He looks it should have been more like Ted Danson from Cheers and not so much like
Mhm.
Mhm.
some sort of like Braveheart guy, some guy with a really long ponytail. But whatever, minor. He was suave otherwise.
Yeah. Jude Law's in AI is a lot better hairstyle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's great in that. But
It, it
pretty different
it
film.
it is a good contrast though with Plughead, who is
It
Oh,
bald.
is.
having tons of hair and having no hair?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. I mean, he has hair plugs,
Yeah.
but otherwise completely bald.
hmm
How do you guys think Juice survived? They just got like her neck brace and then like a Stephen Hawking chair and then that's it? Like
I
she's good to
guess.
go?
Yeah, I thought she was. I was real surprised that
Like she wasn't
she shows
talking like
back up.
Stephen Hawking though.
Yeah,
She was talking normally. She wasn't like,
yeah, yeah.
"Hi there,
I
give me
didn't
the
get that either.
chips."
I thought, okay, she's dead. That's fine.
Hmm.
I mean, I liked her, but it's not like when she shows up, she has a lot to do either. So it's not like, are they saving a check because they didn't want to hire another actress or another actor either for that part? But yeah.
Yeah, because that scene is like a weird callback to the beginning where like the guy who had tied her up
hmm
and she stupidly asks him like, "Do you love me?" or something, and he's like, "No." Um, he comes back and does some weird flirty thing. And then Juice is back with the neck brace and the Stephen Hawking chair, and then Vernon Wells says, "For such a small woman, you're really tough," or something. Like I don't even get
You're really
what
hard to
they're
kill or something like
yeah,
that.
like
Yeah,
what they're trying to get at. Like
yeah.
she's not
It's
that hard to kill. You were just gonna kill her again. You're just gonna shoot her now.
yeah. It's kind of like they didn't want to hire a New York cast, so they
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
everybody from LA.
Yeah, exactly. But like, how did they get there so fast? They're like speeding around in like some medi chair or something.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on that. And again, like the the detectives somehow were ahead of them.
Yeah.
Um, and then Plughead like beats them to it. I guess they just spend a lot of time at that diner, but for the underground parking garage highway, yeah, there's not a lot of consistency.
Do you like the part where Vernon Wells is driving the car and his hands are on the wheel, and then he's kind of like shifting his body to turn the car?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
Uh, I mean, I feel like they watched the Batman the year before and said, "Yeah, we'll steal the hologram walls thing from that."
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, this
yeah, that's
movie is
true.
not shy about taking anything from anywhere.
That's true. Also predicts Harry Potter.
Also,
How
The
so?
platform that you run into
The
to get to the Express.
platform.
mm,
Okay.
Platform 9 3/4.
I'll
yeah.
admit, I've only seen one Harry Potter film, and it was the third one.
Okay. Well, I think they, oh no, he takes the bus in that one.
Yeah.
And I don't remember
They,
who he
they
is.
got
Just
they get
just
locked
thought
out
there
of the
was
train
Gary Oldman.
station.
Hmm. Yeah. But normally they run through a wall to get to the
hmm
magical platform. So,
Yeah.
same idea. Though I don't know if I have too much more to say about Circuitry Man, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. And this was like I said, my goal was to start to choose a Cody pick.
I do
And
I do ask, it kind of leaves me unresolved if they ever got paid for those chips.
but they
I
found
thought
each other.
I thought they dropped them or something.
Well,
Like
they have them at the end, but
didn't they
yeah.
like disperse them?
Though they have them at the end. I think she has it in her hand and drops it on the floor right when they get back together, but
Right. Okay.
they kind of leave that part. I mean, I presume they picked them up and get paid, but it went off for their happy ending,
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it left it a little unresolved, but like nothing major. I mean, the story, I guess, is resolved. The bad guy is defeated somehow.
Yeah. He's defeated. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. All right. Well, is it my turn?
Yes, Cody, you have next month's movie.
Okay. I'm gonna break with my plan for this year. I was gonna do all Rucker Hauer films, but we just watched a 90s film, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. So I'm gonna go back from the 90s to the 80s, and
Ooh.
I'm going to pick Moonraker.
Isn't
No,
that
I don't think I've
79?
ever seen Moonraker in full.
What? Is it 79?
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
it
it's
is. Oh
79.
God, don't split hairs. It's the 80s, basically.
It is.
I thought you
No,
were
I've
gonna
read
say,
the
is
book, but
that
I haven't seen the
sci-fi?
movie.
No,
You read the
I'm
book?
it's spy-fi, but
Yeah. The book of Moonraker is one of the better Ian Fleming ones.
Okay. So you guys are cool with this, right? You
yeah,
would consider it sci-fi? All
Oh
right.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
They go to space.
Okay, it's
And
sci-fi.
there's a laser battle in space.
Is this the first movie that all of us have seen? Like
No, we've seen other ones
well, I mean,
before.
for a long time. It feels like
Well, I haven't seen Moonraker. I've
oh,
seen
you
parts
haven't.
of
Okay.
Moonraker.
Okay.
How have you not seen it on TV? It was
This
on
sounds
like
like something
TV,
little
like
Robert would be clamoring to go to see.
or old or medium Robert
Yeah.
or current Robert.
Current well done, Robert.
I mean, I'm surprised I didn't see it. I mean, I've seen good chunks of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing. And I mean, I've seen The Spy Who Loved Me a bunch of times, and I saw For Your Eyes Only a bunch of times, but somehow I never really saw Moonraker all the way through.
Hmm.
Also, I've never seen A View to a Kill all the way through.
Oh, that
Yeah,
one's whatever.
I can understand that. But I mean this one was a pretty big deal too
Oh
when it came
yeah, it
out.
was like one of the most popular Bond films ever at that point.
Hmm. And you also have Jaws, so natural extension from The Spy
From
Who
yeah,
Loved Me.
yeah.
And it was the highest grossing film until Goldeneye of the series until Goldeneye.
Wow. Yeah, it did make like 200 million worldwide, something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I have not seen this, I think, in about 20 years or so. Probably more.
Yeah, so I've seen it recently. It is um almost like a parody of James Bond.
Hmm.
That's my
Like like
understanding.
like every line is a one-liner.
I mean that is kind of a Roger Moore staple,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but
why
yeah.
the For Your Eyes Only they've really pared it back
Well, that's considered
afterwards.
one of the best ones, though.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
For
I
Your
would
Eyes
agree.
Only? Or Spy Who
I
Loved Me?
Yeah,
this sorry, The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah.
The
Spy
Spy
Who
Who
Loved
Loved
Me.
Me. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's like my understanding. Moonraker is like The Spy Who Loved Me, but it's kind of like injected with comedy steroids.
Yeah, sorry. I was meaning to say The Spy Who Loved Me is considered one of the better, top James Bond films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's one that definitely was like the most Roger Moore of them, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna just lead into this, but it's still serious enough that you can enjoy it both ways.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this, and I will return to Rucker Hauer. Maybe I'll just do it so one a year. One Rucker Hauer film a year.
I like that. I mean,
We
there
don't
are
want to
so
run
many.
out of horror movies too soon.
No.
That's not going to happen. He's got a lot of movies that are made for less than $1 million.
Yeah. Speaking of the Hitcher,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is kind of referenced in its own way in Circuitry Man.
Hmm.
I'm kind of excited to revisit this now. I really like Michael Lonsdale, and as I recall, I think he actually does a really good job as a Bond villain.
Drax, yeah.
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 This one I remember just thinking like the special effects are cool, the sets are cool, and yeah.
Mhm. I like I just like the idea of the Amazon and Bond going to the Amazon.
I have rated this film very high on my Letterboxd review, on my last review. 3.5 stars out of 5. That's crazy.
I know people that do like it for the pure cap value of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's campy.
I just remember it being especially campy when they actually, well, when they get to the end. I don't want to spoil too much for Robert, although I don't know how many of the chunks that you've seen. But
I've seen chunks of it. Are we talking about James Bond attempting reentry?
Yes.
okay, yeah. So I mean, I think it really kind of like goes off the rails in full camp, like once once they do get into space.
The
And
Sometimes
best
so.
line.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I've seen parts of it. I mean, I'm probably not going to be surprised by anything that happens in it, but I will be looking forward to seeing it first time. I heard that the opening stunt is pretty cool too. Well,
Yeah, it
I
is.
haven't seen that
Yeah,
one.
it is good. Yeah, no, I I think it's one of I don't think it's one of the better ones, but it's the one of them I like. Like like I don't think this movie's good, but I like You Only Live Twice.
I
I
would
know
agree
it's
with you.
I like that.
I know it's super racist, but um
I like the
like
volcano set.
yeah, I just really enjoy it.
Well, you get Donald Pleasance as a Bond villain. What's
Yeah,
not to like?
there's stuff about it I like, but I would agree with Cody that you only live twice is not exactly good.
Oh yeah,
It's fun, and most of it's not like it's Thunderball, which is kind of long and boring.
yeah. Well, I mean, Diamonds Are Forever is also fun, but not a good movie.
No,
Mhm.
no, that one's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I
Well, I'm
mean,
glad we're all like relatively versed in Bond and we can chat about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like they were the one that was good for a long time. There was On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and that one flopped, but that one's been reclaimed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I think most people would consider that one good. It is
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Although, as racist bonds go, we always will have Yoni no Live and Let Die,
Yeah, I would say like
especially the book.
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't read the book, but I would say You Only Live Twice is about the same.
I think. I mean, You Only Live Twice has as Bond doing Yellowface,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He
whereas
doesn't
you
do
don't have
blackface.
Bond doing blackface in Live and
No.
Let Die. I also it's weird because I feel I may be putting my foot in my mouth and I haven't seen it in a while, but I also feel like Live and Let Die goes so leans so heavily into the comedy that it's I think almost more of a comedy than an action thriller. And
Mm,
so I don't think it's taking itself that seriously on anything,
that's true.
including like,
I find it almost unwatchable, that one.
oh, I like that one. Like the alligator run and
the
like
the Southern Sheriff.
the Southern Sheriff, which is fascinating to me because I think that sheriff also then shows up in The Man with the Golden Gun,
That is
which is
correct.
it's such a but it also predates like a lot of the Burt Reynolds films where that's staple. So it's like, did this originate?
Jackie Gleason's
like
in Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it predates the Dukes of Hazzard. And I mean, Burt Reynolds was making movies that take place in the South and have him as a good old boy outwitting the sheriffs. But I don't think that any of those sheriffs were as hard into that archetype as they are in Live and Let Die. And so I'm very curious if like Live and Let Die somehow created that great American archetype.
Well, it probably did.
I guess so. Also, I love Yaphet Kotto, so
Yeah.
Oh, me too. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a good Bond
Yeah.
villain.
Yeah.
And
anyhow, I think we're drifting quite a bit from here because we should save some
Let's
stuff
just
to
do
talk
next month episode now. Let's just do it now, record 2, and then release this later.
So that Drax, what a guy.
So, anyhow, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at skiespodcast@gmail.com or leave us a note on Facebook. Also, feel free to share a link on social media. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us next month for Moonraker. Bye.
Take care.
Oh, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Oh, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Oh, I'm going down the road feeling bad. And ain't gonna be treated this way. Oh, I'm going where the chilly wind never blows. Oh, I'm going where the chilly wind never blows. Oh, I'm going where the chilly wind never blows. And ain't gonna be treated this way. Oh, way down in jail on my knees. Oh, way down in jail on my knees. Oh, way down in jail on my knees. And ain't gonna be treated this way. Oh, they feed me on cornbread and peas. Oh, they feed me on cornbread and peas. Oh, they feed me on cornbread and peas. And ain't gonna be treated this way. Yes, I'm going where the climate suits my clothes. Oh, I'm going where the climate suits my clothes. Oh, I'm going where the climate suits my clothes. And ain't gonna be treated this way. Yes, I'm going if I never come back. Oh, I'm going if I never come back. Oh, I'm going if I never come back. And ain't gonna be treated this way.
Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.